welcome everybody. If you're just walking in, there are some seats, probably about 7, 8 seats on this side. Thank you for coming on this cold, almost Thanksgiving morning. I wanted to introduce the event, talk a little bit about why we're having this panel, then turn it over to Ms. Bauer to introduce the panelists. And I want to thank all these panelists for coming. Many of them are negotiated with their teachers today that they could miss a couple of periods of class so that they could be here to talk a little bit about their experience. Some of them are boarding school students who have the week off, so they're just waking up early for one morning. One thing that we take a great deal of pride in, Ms. Bauer, Mr. Cooper, and I, when we travel around to different secondary schools, we hear all types of different stories and characteristics or characterizations of our students. And two concepts come up almost universally. We hear from the secondary school admissions people and the administrators and the teachers. Elizabeth Mara always has really, really well-prepared, really, really nice people who come to our schools. That's one thing that we can count on from Elizabeth Mara students. There are athletes, there are musicians, there are writers, but those two characteristics are always true when we get Elizabeth Mara school students. One thing we hear internally here from a lot of our families, especially families first, whose children are first coming into middle school, who say, "I wish Elizabeth Mara School just had a high school. I wish we could just stay forever." Kind of thinking about those two pieces of feedback we get, one from the schools who receive our students and another from families who have students at our school, is actually what we really believe in is kind of the key to what is our success in terms of having students who go on and are so successful, is that we do end in 8th grade. Just that the end of childhood ends in 8th grade, the beginning of adolescence begins when students are about 14. And the ability to go through a process to think about what you really want and care about in your high school experience is an incredibly valuable process. And so we hear this, we talk about this all the time, we hear it anecdotally from our graduates and from our graduates' families, but we wanted to take this morning as an opportunity to let you hear it firsthand from our graduates themselves. And let them talk a little bit about their experience hearing those things that they did hear that allowed them to transition into their schools with success, and also talk about their school experiences where they are now and what things are like and what the transitions are. So thank you so much for coming. It's been a great turnout. We weren't sure what the turnout would be like. We're really pleased with so many people that are interested in being here. And I'm going to introduce Ms. Bauer, who is going to introduce our panelists. Thanks.
Welcome my former 8th graders, my present 8th graders, and my future 8th graders. As a school, there are a lot of things that we take seriously, but clearly what's most important is cultivating in our students the ability to learn, to think, to explore, to collaborate, to empathize, and to lead. EMS graduates personify and embody all of those necessary skills. We're privileged here today to have some of our most accomplished alums who will share with you what their experience at EMS has been, how it shaped their lives, and how it's influenced them in secondary school. I have known all of these students in my 7th grade history class, in my 8th grade history class, and as advisees in the secondary school program. Actually, this is our own little homecoming. And they're all accomplished. They'll tell you all about themselves. But what's important for you to understand is when we planned this panel, all it took was one quick email from me, and all of these young people were on board, because the commitment that they have to EMS and the connection to EMS is deep. These kids spent more time here than they will ever spend in any other learning institution in their lives. This is their home. So many of them, or half of them actually, almost half, are beginning Thanksgiving vacation with us. And the rest of them are rushing back to school after their classes. So I'll let them introduce themselves, tell you what they do, and then I'll ask them a question, and you'll see for yourselves the EMS experience. So, Maggie?
I'm Maggie Sheridan. I'm a 9th grader at Dwight Inglewood, and I graduated last year from EMS, and I enjoy the performing arts, music, theater, and yeah, all that stuff.
I'm Victoria. I'm an 8th grader at Blair. I graduated last year, and I do lacrosse and field hockey and community service. I'm currently Nancy. I'm a 9th grader at Blair, and I graduated last year, and I do like sports and engineering.
I'm Tondi. I go to Bergen County Academy, and I'm a freshman, and I graduated last year, and I play tennis, and I'm part of clubs like UNICEF and World Vision.
Christian Maloney. I go to Riverdale Country School. I'm a junior, and I enjoy being part of the orchestra, chamber music, and running for the cross country and track teams.
Josh Benson, I'm a 9th grader. I graduated last year. I go to Horace Mann. My activities include I'm doing parliamentary debate, we're doing debate, orchestra, I love guitar, musicians.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carter Hirschhorn. I'm a senior at Riverdale Country School, and I'm involved in an organization called Seeds of Peace, and I run a program at Riverdale called Breaking Borders, and I'm involved in baseball and cross country at Riverdale.
I'm Elizabeth Herman. I'm a junior at the Loomis Chafee School. I graduated from here in 2013, and I'm involved in community service. I tutor kids in the area around my school, and I'm the president of my Harry Potter club.
Hi, I'm Liel. I'm a junior, also from the Riverdale Country School, and I founded and run a club called Human Rights Now, and I do a lot of political and social justice-oriented things as well as music.
I'm Erica Herman. I'm a junior at Loomis Chafee. I graduated here in 2013. I'm a president of our LGBT club Spectrum. I do community service, and I'm a prefect in a dorm, which is a junior living in an undergraduate dorm.
Will each of you tell us a key characteristic that you developed while you were here at UMass that has contributed to your success in secondary school? Whoever wants to begin can begin.
I think a key characteristic of cultivation was the ability to explore the arts in every way. That has been a shift in high school. Here I was able to do chorus, play the orchestra, and a rock band, and it allows you to really expand your horizons and find out what you like to do, so that by the time you get to high school, you can really narrow that list down to what you want to try next.
I feel like at EMS I kind of acquired the ability to prioritize my time, and that can include not just being a low-rounded student, but looking for areas that I really enjoy, and even when keeping that in mind towards the secondary school process, not just looking for a school with the best reputation, but the school that's best for you.
I guess my sense of community from EMS, just coming back and seeing all my friends and always visiting the school every year, really played into going to high school and wanting to find a really tight-knit community that would be like EMS but at a bigger scale. And my leadership skills and from all the things that I did at EMS kind of led into me wanting to be a prefect and creating a community in the dorm for students that I had here because it's a small dorm, and so it's kind of like being at EMS again and getting to lead a community. So I have to agree with Erica because I know that I remain really good friends with a lot of people that went to EMS at my school right now, and it's really, really good that we remain together, even in a bigger school and a more diverse school. We still remain good.
I agree with Maggie too. I believe a month ago we all went out as an advisory to dinner, and we still want to keep those friendships and a quality that, not like equality, but something that I learned was really important at EMS was the importance of giving. So giving back to my community. So that drove me to
there's so many things for me that EMS has helped me with in high school. And one thing I think is being inquisitive and understanding the importance of just asking good questions. And I know in high school, a lot of times it's not about the answers you get and that final result, but they're more concerned with the process about asking really good questions, and that's something that I think EMS did a great job at facilitating someone who can look at a set of problems and ask questions about it and get beyond just one answer. That's been kind of really important.
So, parents and students, this is an expert panel. They can answer any question. So really, this is an opportunity for you to ask your questions about EMS experience, about the secondary school process. So, anyone with a question?
How was it, what did you practice for your interviews when you would go visit schools? And was it scary?
You like prep questions, so like reviewing those before you go into an interview is really good. But you have to like it's not as bad as it seems to just be yourself, and it's just a conversation. They want to know that you can hold a conversation. You want to get to know you and to make sure that you're ready for school.
Yeah, on that note, I'd say, it's just important to keep in mind, avoid being artificial towards whomever you're talking to. They really want to get to know you as you really are, and you should feel comfortable just letting them get to know you.
I would also say one of the best things about EMS is because it's so small, you're able to develop really close relationships with adults. So you're able to engage with adults in ways that students from other schools aren't, which will definitely make you feel a lot more comfortable in interviews talking with them.
And the interviewers know that you're nervous. They do this as a job. Every single kid who passes through their office is terrified, so they're not expecting you to be perfect.
Good question.
What was the most challenging aspect of your application process, and how would you prepare differently now that you have gone through that experience?
I think probably the hardest part of the process, like the essays, which I'm sure you all are writing and editing right now, is probably how you have to narrow down your activities, but you also have to miss classes to go to interviews and see other schools. I think that's important because it gets you to communicate with your teachers, which in high school is something that is vital. You have to really be your own decision maker, and when you're, you're in this school, to be able to prioritize, you can communicate with your teachers. That's a skill that is extremely useful when it comes to high school. So although it's kind of difficult missing classes, having to pick up tests, it's a skill that you acquire. It's extremely useful.
Yeah, I think for me it was probably the essays. It's hard to sort of translate who you are, as a person and a student on, 500 words or whatever. And I think that's also, EMS does such a good job at not, you're not supposed to confine who you are to, a certain amount of words. So I think that was hard because it was sort of counterintuitive. But so just learning about, what I want to put in, an essay that relays, who I am, what I'm interested in, what I would be interested in the future. But again, I think that at EMS you have really great teachers that help with these writing skills. It wasn't that bad.
A key suggestion I'd make during the secondary school process is that, depending on whether this when this could happen, but to always make sure, when possible, to visit and actually spend a day or half a day at the school you're looking at, because you can visit, take a tour, and see the classes and talk to people, but I feel as if unless you're really in the classes, you're always one step removed. And I think it's better maybe miss a little bit of class and go to the schools and visit, because you don't want to regret not knowing what the school is actually like. Like you can make whatever impression you want for yourself solely based on talking to teachers, and it may be true and just touring, but you really do need to spend a day there and know what it's actually like being a student at that school.
Yeah, going off of what Christian said, being open to all the schools that you're seeing. Don't say, oh, I have to go to this school because I know surface level, like it looks great in the brochures, and I went into a tour and I saw it and it looked great. You have to go and visit and see if you actually like it or not, because when I was touring all the schools, like the last school that I went to that I thought I wasn't, like I was like, oh, it's gonna be the last one, I don't really care, I don't even wanna go, ended up being the school that we ended up attending, and we loved it. So you have to keep yourself open to all the possibilities and not just that one school, because there's gonna be a school out there for you, so.
I was gonna say, the most difficult part for me was the time management, because my parents were both very adamant on me being able to do the secondary school process by myself. Everything was my responsibility, and I had a lot of independence in this, so it was very, it was a little bit tricky for me to like navigate everything, balancing my homework and my applications, but in the end, it's a really good lesson in time management, and I think, and I'm very lucky to have my parents not super heavy on the learning process, and it was just me.
It seems like it was a very difficult process because you had to decide on what you wanted to do. Did you start it in 8th grade and 7th grade? Did you know where you were going to end up early, where some of you made a last-minute decision?
I think it's different for everyone. Some people go into the process, they have 3 older siblings who all went, like they're probably gonna go to IT, or maybe they won't. So like some people have like a set up thing, and then Erica and I went in like completely open, applied to boarding school, and almost no one else in our grade did. It's different for everyone, because like we're sisters, some people are alone, some people have older siblings.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I had a sister that went to the school that I go to now. But my mom made it a point that, you know, when I started the whole process to sort of cut off all the background noise. And, you know, just because I had a sister, that didn't mean that it was necessarily the right place for me. So I think, you know, when I sort of went out to see what I liked, I sort of, you know, wrote down, brainstormed a list of characteristics about a school. A lot of them were similar to EMS. And actually, I mean, I found another school that I was really considering and had a tough time choosing between the two. But I think an important thing for me to understand was that, you know, everyone has an opinion. You know, mom, uncle, dad. And just to drown that out a little bit and to just sort of focus on, you know, what you as a student want was, I think, something really important as I was sort of making this decision.
Well, both of us were not considering going to school at all, and so we only just like found out about Blair like late into the process. So we only like toured in like December, and we like fell in love with it. So like you have to keep your options open and kind of like let the process like take your like the way it goes. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like we went on campus and like we fell in love with it right away, and like that's where we are now. But we were like, no boarding school, no, like no. But we love it now.
Like, I've always been like passionate of medicine, and I've always wanted to become a doctor, so I think that's what drove me to like apply to like the medical academy at UCA, and like that's where I am now, and I love it. So I think my passion is what drove me to my school choice.
I have a second and a third grader, so I still have a few years to go, but this is really extremely interesting to see you guys. I'm really happy that the school put this together for us, for 7th and 8th graders. But the 4 C's permeates the foundation of the school and how we present ourselves to the world, to our peers, to our parents, to our friends' parents, and also to the secondary school and high schools as we move forward. How do you feel the 4 C's have helped you differentiate yourself in class as you're now just starting? Josh, for example, I'm putting you out there, I know you personally, but how has that worked for you, and how have you felt it's made you shine in class or helped you in presenting some of those thoughts to your classmates and to your teachers?
I definitely think that the way EMS teaches the 4 C's and how it is the foundation you. So it's also just a skill for like being able to know how to be conscientious of others, to respect other people. That's just a positive quality, and that is something people in other schools, the teachers would advocate to. And even if you don't use it a lot in school and you're going to a school where everyone knows you, it's still a life skill that's just important to have. Just be nice to people. I think it's definitely helped me. My grade went from about 30 to about 175, 80. So I had to, you know, I made a lot of new friends, and knowing how to be nice and how to respect people and fellow classmates and teachers has definitely helped do that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been immensely important for me, just knowing that you're part of whatever school you go to, that you're part of a greater community, and that doesn't even necessarily mean within inside the school you go to. So I know that's sort of what led me to be really passionate about education reform, social justice is sort of the foundation that EMS started of passion, cooperation, that there are people around you, and that the interactions between anyone around you, whether it's in school, outside of school, are so important. And it's been something I really wanted to focus on is interactions with different people inside the community, outside the community. So I think that's been really profound in my educational experience as well.
I think what's so nice about, at least for me, being acquainted with the 4 C's is that I don't even really have to think about them anymore. Like, I don't go into a situation thinking, I'm going to exercise the person saying C. After going to EMS, you kind of have this moral clarity where you don't need to consider, oh, what are people going to think of me if I do the right thing? You just do the right thing. And I think, we're guided very well in elementary school, and it's been serving me well in high school, and I think it will continue.
Going off what Josh and Christian said, like I go to a school where everyone is new and people from other towns know each other, so it was kind of good for me that I knew the 4 C's because I knew how to like introduce myself and I knew how to be nice to others. And teachers definitely make note of that. They really can differentiate you from you being nice and kids who really aren't nice to other people. They really can tell that you really have morals and that you really are nice to others and you really are a good person. So I think that was really important.
Josh touched on this a little bit, but can you talk about your experience in coming from a really small, nurturing, amazing environment to go to a much larger, sophisticated school? How was that transition like for you?
It really helped me when I was entering a really large high school. I think that because EMS is so small and my grade was so small and there's so many things to do, I always felt really comfortable kind of throwing myself into everything. Like, I am not athletic at all, and EMS makes you do a sport in the 7th grade, so I had experience doing like volleyball. I joined yearbook, and even though like those things aren't necessarily like what I want to do, I definitely felt comfortable joining them. So when I came into high school, I threw myself into like every club I possibly could, and I felt confident doing that. So I definitely feel like that helped me a lot figure out what I want to do.
I think that the fact that EMS is a small community is beneficial because it gives you a safe space to explore what you want to do. Because in a large environment, teachers aren't going to say, well, I really think you should do this or this. You have to kind of be your own person. And the first time it seems kind of scary, but EMS prepares you and they allow you to explore everything so that you can find what you really love. And it also, because we have such a small community, it definitely encourages you to express your opinion and say what you want to say in public speaking, which is important because as public speaking right now, that helps you. So the fact that we have a small community helps nurture us and helps build core values and abilities and allows us to excel at work. And coming from EMS to a bigger school, essentially EMS is a microcosm for what high school is, just a lot bigger.
For me, going from EMS with 33 kids in a grade to 150 plus in a grade, I kind of wanted to find that smaller community again, so I kind of sought out, like, for me it was like dorm life at the beginning, but I knew how to talk to adults and kind of find a great community, so when I became a prefect, I wanted to make a sense of a smaller community that when you go out into the world, you always know that you have that community to come back to. And so I know that going to high school, I can come back to EMS and know everyone and have all of my friends. And then I found a smaller community at school, and I'm not just kind of drifting through and not really knowing what I wanted to do. I kind of sought out a community of people that are like-minded as me and build my high school around that, rather than kind of just going through freshman year, not really knowing what I wanted to do and like figuring it out, I don't know, like halfway through junior year. I kind of figured it out and then branched out once I felt comfortable. So you kind of find a smaller community once you get there because you're used to that, and then you feel much more comfortable branching out when you know you have that group that you can come back to.
Yeah, I think also at a small school like EMS, you can build really great connections with teachers at school, which for me was really important going to high school. That when I went to high school, yes, I was able to sit in class, but that I was able to then approach my teachers if I had questions, to meet with them outside of class, is really important. And understanding that the relationship between me as a student and my teachers is really important to me. Just learning whether I have questions, whether I need help in something. But I think at EMS you learn that you can ask questions to teachers and you can ask for help, and that was really important.
And just to give credence to what Erica said, I think it's important going into a presumably much larger high school that you do need to find a community of like-minded people. Like when I came to Riverdale, we had our cross-country preseason in August, and immediately, I found that I really, really like those group of guys, and even now I'm great friends with all of them. And I probably would not have been. I probably wouldn't have gotten to know them. And I think you need to take into account that, unlike EMS, you're probably not going to be friends with every single person in your grade because it can probably go into the hundreds. But that being said, you can always find different communities, and they don't have to be all at once. They can be your sports community, your club community, or whatever. But I think it's important to just find a group of kids that you like and not have to worry about being close with every single person.
And because EMS is so spread out, or high school is so spread out, when I was at EMS, I met my best friends in my entire life. And now going to a bigger school, I always have that group of friends to fall back on, and I text them every day. And I went on a trip with one of my best friends from EMS this summer for 2 weeks. So we're always really, really close, and just having those relationships to always fall back on is really comforting.
It kind of helps you branch out because you know that you have people that support you. You feel comfortable going and doing things that you might have just been like, I'm never going to do that. But you'll have friends be like, oh no, go try it, like it's going to be fun. Like I wrote a play last year and I was never going to do that. I wrote one here too, but I was like, oh, that was just going to be like a one-time thing. Like I'm never going to do that again. That was stressful. But then I went and did it again. And I was just like, okay, maybe I actually do like doing this. And I was like, oh, I tried to the EMS, maybe I'll try it at a high school level. So like you find what you're comfortable with, but then you have people pushing you to branch out. And like my advisor is always telling me like, go try something, go do it. I don't want you to stay in your comfort zone. And you know that you have that comfort zone, but there are people pushing you out and trying new things, so yeah.
EMS is really, going off of what Erica said, EMS is really where you find who you are, because this is, well, 8th grade is really the time in your life when you're realizing a lot of stuff about yourself, well, at least for me. And that EMS is where I realized what my passions were and what I'm very interested in. So that was really good for me to know going into high school, because it really helped me gain a good group of friends that are like-minded and that I mesh really well with. And I'm really thankful for EMS and that EMS helped me develop who I am. And also I'm really thankful for the people that went to EMS that now go to my current school, because a couple of them are in the same social group as I am, but not all of them. But I still know that I can rely on them for maybe help with homework or something, or just to say hi to all of them. I think the community that is built at EMS lasts.
Like going off what Maggie said, I think advisory plays a really big role in like the close-knit, our close-knit community, because like there were 5 kids in my advisory and our advisor, and we were all really close, and we went out every month for dinner, and I think that's what made us really close. still have those, like, we still contact each other, and we like go to lunch. We go to like lunch or dinner like every month or every other month, and we still keep those connections. And I can always like ask my advisor, like my former advisor, like I could ask her, I could text her and be like, what do I do with this? I need help, and she'll still reply to me, and we still keep those connections. So I think that was really important.
At what age and time in your life did you start thinking about or preparing for the transition between EMS and USRP?
I really think that there's two parts of the process. The writing essays part that you guys are in right now, writing essays for the interviews, doing all that, and then the second part is getting ready to make a shift from being a middle schooler to a high schooler. I think when I started thinking about applying to schools and writing essays, it's when you did, Ms. Bauer helped us greatly when you're telling us how to write essays, how to apply, when to apply, telling us to visit certain schools that come visit us and instruct their stuff. But when I really made the transition from the middle school to a high school, was probably, I guess, kind of my first day in high school, but never really, because EMS always stays part of you, and although you will transition, thinking about going to a new school, now for 8th graders, what you're going to be doing next year for 7th graders, you're never going to really leave with friends, but you're going to lose those experiences.
Yeah, I think undoubtedly it's in the back of everyone's mind for a couple of years even before going to high school. And yes, it always is a fairly large process, but involving stress level, it's a big deal if you want to make it a big deal. There are many ways you could look at it. You could be worried about it, you could stress, but on the other hand, you could say, I have talents, I'm going to go to a good school, and I'm not going to worry. And I think it's all about how you approach it. And you know what? No one goes to a bad school. Depending on your reputation, whatever, a school is as good as you make it. If you go to whatever school, you can make it as good as you want. So what I have to say is, I frankly would not worry, because everyone is going to end up in a good place, whatever school you go to.
Also, nothing's final. So I mean, if you don't end up at the school that you really want to go to, you can always, switch schools. I know quite a few people from our class ended up switching schools and are really, really happy where they ended up. And it's a process of learning about yourself and learning about what you really want, going to the wrong school, and then figuring out what you do want and finding the school that really does fit you. And that's not I think someone over here asked earlier what I regret about the high school process, and I stressed a lot for the high school process and finding the right high school. And if I could go back, I wouldn't stress as much, because I know that because I'm dedicated to finding where I'm happy, I eventually found the place that I'm most happy at.
Yeah, my advice to the students is to not give up your experience of being in 7th and 8th grade and worrying for high school. You should still be in the moment and be present and experience the fun things that you're doing now in school. High school will happen. You'll get there. You'll be at a school. You'll make it work. Just be in the moment. And like Leah was saying, she stressed out and was just like, you don't want to lose those couple months. You want to time everything and learn to, this is now I'm going to think about high school, but I have to do this for EMS and I have to hang out with my friends. You want to just learn that, and then you take that mindset into high school with you, because now I'm I have to do homework now, I have to do work for the dorm now, and then now I'm going to hang out with my friends. You learn to manage everything, but don't just focus on high school, high school, high school. Make sure you're having other thoughts.
I think that's a great point. I know that I'm right now in the midst of the college process, and that's something I just would have to remind myself very often to remember to enjoy my last year. But it's really true. I think, looking back on it, I would have been happy at a number of schools. And I think just remembering it's not, yes, there might be a school that's perfect for you, but I think for me it was really more about what you do at that school, how you participate in the community there. That's what's sort of important, and you can find that at many different schools. So I think stressing about, you know, the perfect school for me. You know, I'm trying to think about that now too. Just, you know, it's about what you do at that school when you're there. That's really important.
Any other questions? Cameron?
Where do you see yourself in 4 years?
Probably really good college. Someone else talk about how the process works. I think 4 years is a long while. I don't even know what time I'm leaving tomorrow. But I think, even though I can't predict where I'm going to be in 4 years, I can trust that my school I'm at now, and EMS has prepared me to get where I want to be, when I find where I want to be, wherever that is.
Well, in 4 years, I can't tell you what school I'm going to be at, but I see myself probably taking steps to major in the classics program and running in the cross-country team and being a major player in the school's music program. And granted, again, I don't know what school I'm going to be at, but I can tell you that these are some of my priorities going into the college process and into college, and I intend to do things.
During the secondary school process, how did you react to setbacks? Like, let's say you didn't get accepted to school.
I think that even there's going to be a certain period, whether or not you, so let's say you're applying to school and it's one you want to really go to, but it's okay. It's going to happen to someone or another, but you should be happy where you go and try to make the best out of it. Like, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. I feel like I tell myself, like, oh, not waitlist, then it's okay. It happened for a reason. Like, you're going somewhere else. Just focus on that.
Yeah, someone I know that goes to my school right now is one of my good friends. She got waitlisted, I think, for one of the schools that she had wanted to go to for such a long time. And it was kind of like a blow to her, like her preset idea of what high school was going to be like for her. But she got back on her feet and is really, really happy at the school she's at now. And she's thriving. And just keep in mind that if you don't get into the school that you really, really want to go to, there is something else for you, and you may do better than you have at other schools.
I'm just saying, I think it's important to consider that even if you're disappointed by your acceptances, keep in mind that the schools that do in fact accept you are accepting you for a reason, because they want you to come to the school, because they think you would be a good fit at their school. And I think you have to keep that in mind. You know, they want me, they think it would be good for me, want. Just keep that in mind rather than saying, this is a reach, I'm the one that wants to go there, do they want me? No, you need that mutual respect, and you need to know that there is something for you at that school, more than just the name.
Yeah, I think it's not, the process isn't about going to the best school that has, you know, the most acclaimed this or the biggest that. It's about finding the school that's right for you. And if you feel that you didn't live up to what you expected to do, no matter where you go, you are all very smart people. I'm sure you'll thrive anywhere. It's about trying to find a community or school and a group of kids and teachers who allow you to explore, but also bring you down to earth and reflect on yourself.
You may think that like it's the right school for you at that particular time, but like keep your options open, keep like researching your other schools, and you might realize that no, like I'm in love with this school, and yeah, it's still a great school, but maybe it's not as good stuff.
Yeah, I would say I was really interested in like a specific school, and when I got in, I toured, and I ended up hating it and realizing that the school that I like loved and was really focused on for like months at that time just really wasn't the school for me, and kind of just like taking that into account and letting that settle, but still keeping my options open and figuring out the school that I wanted to go to really helped me throughout the process.
don't dwell on the what ifs. Just, it happened. Kind of let that sink in. It's okay to cry. Many tears will be shed during college process. But you let that pass and you don't dwell on it. Because if you dwell on it, everything else is going to be like a miserable experience. And you're just going to be like, oh, like I'll just go here, whatever. You just want to put that out of your mind and get excited for everything else. Because if you have a setback, there are going to be like 10 other things that go your way. So just focus on that and don't dwell on
I just wanted to
bad
say
happened.
one more thing about that. Now, as I said before, you can thrive at any place you go to, and it may turn out that you do not go to as big a name a school as something else. And for those kids that do, congratulations. They can tell their friends and they can wear the merchandise. But seriously, but you should know that whatever school you go to, you can be just as successful. If you want to set your mind to it, if you want to be top of your class, go for it. You know, you can, no matter where you go, you can be successful, you can be happy, and you really don't need to worry.
Quick question. I'll leave music out because I'm sure, anyway, Amelia, that you guys are brilliant, and once you go to high school, everybody knows you come from EMS, nobody can touch you. But on any other level, and obviously my kids are still young, I just wanted to know your feedback as you first went in and you're in a much larger group of years and you've got a teacher who might not know you by name. Did you feel at some point, wow, you know, I'm so thankful I spent this time in EMS because the work that I'm preparing, the work that I'm presenting is really setting me apart, and you really get that sense that it's a serious commitment that the school has made towards your education, and as you've made that leap to high school, you really get a sense of being able to give back and show your teachers and your peers what you've learned and what you can produce. And as you move forward, as you know, in terms of now applying to college.
I think going to high school, there's definitely a more diverse group of people who have a more diverse set of skills. There's going to be, obviously, there's probably going to be a couple hundred people in your high school just for your grade, which means there's not chances are you're not going to come from a community who's invested something, but you're going to be in a community with other people who share those interests. And I think your teachers are probably going to notice that EMS is prepared well to do these things and understand the process it goes through. And with music, come on.
Yeah, I think, to speak just with the academic side of Riverdale, sorry, I didn't get it. School. At EMS, being in this power class, you get to learn how to write, and I think that was something that was really important, and that has been really important in high school. Like going into high school, you know how to write a thesis statement, you know how to structure an essay, and that's something that not everyone knows how to do going into high school. It's something that I think EMS did a great job. Doing throughout your high school is sort of building these skills and learning how, whether you're in science class, history, English, how to sort of manipulate your writing to these different disciplines, which is something that is really important in high school, learning how to write well and how to sort of articulate your argument.
EMS really gives you the tools that you need, like those study guides that Mrs. Bowers making you write, and those note card checks. They may seem terrible right now, but when you go into high school, they're not going to check that for you every step of the way, and you have to check them for yourself. You have to make your own schedule. So it just kind of builds you up to really being able to organize your life and do things when they need to be done ahead of time.
Yeah, going off what Carter said about the writing, Loomis is very writing intensive. And freshman year, I remember going into English class, and there was just a day, it was like, this is what a noun is, this is what a verb is. And there were kids who hadn't learned that before, and I was sitting there like, check, got that. Went into history, it was like, here's how to write a thesis statement. I was like, I have the tools to be able to write this paper, and going into junior year with this really large 15-page history paper looming over my head, I know that I'll be able to research effectively because we were taught to research since we came to 5th grade in the library. We're sitting there writing our note cards, and so I feel confident that I'll be able to go in, find the tools that I need. So you have like the basic tools, and you feel like one step above when you first come in, because you feel prepared and you know that EMS has prepared you well to deal with the classes. It might be that initial like, oh my God, there's so many other people that know what they're doing. Do I know what I'm doing? But then you're like, wait, I know what I'm doing. Like, I got this. And then you kind of just learn and build the skills that you started with from EMS, and your high school will just build that so that you feel ready for college and ready for whatever else.
Yeah, just to add one other thing, I think at EMS, I was also taught a lot just learning how to learning how to annotate, which then can lead you to asking other questions. So it's, yes, learning specific skills, but also, just learning how to take in information, from different classes and apply it in other areas, I think, is very important. Because in high school, that's something that you sort of have to figure out on your own sometimes. And I think having EMS before that was really helpful.
Take one last question from the audience.
Obviously, the panel is quite poised. You've helped the parents decidedly poised. Socially, you did well. Academically, you're thriving. There seems to be a trend for some where some of the children exit at 5th grade versus 8th grade. I guess it's a two-pronged question. One, what was the effect for those who stayed? And two, looking back, are you glad you stayed? And do you know, have you presented the kids who left earlier? What was the impact at EMS with that shift, and what was the impact to you by staying and ultimately selecting the school that you chose?
For me, I've been here. I was at EMS for as long as I can remember. It really became my home. There's not a day that I don't thank EMS for the skills that I gained, especially the skills I gained on Morrow House, which is 58. And for me, leaving EMS just like it wasn't an option, it was my home. It taught me the skills that I'm still using. It allowed me to solidify my sense of community here, and my friends from here I still talk with and still hang out. And I think leaving in 5th grade doesn't allow you to complete the experience. It's like reading a book halfway through saying, you know what, this chapter was pretty good. I'm going to go switch over to another thing. You need the conclusion in the application process in 8th grade also helps you. Having to write all these essays and go to interviews, as well as just be a regular student, prepares you for high school, because by the time you get to freshman year, you're like, oh, I don't have to write any essays other than the regular ones for school. It gives you time management skills. And if you don't go through the whole experience, I think you're really just missing out.
Also, as far as like the different experience of going into high school versus middle school is that I think in high school, these schools are really prepared for a lot of kids to come in. So it's much more comfortable to come in with many other kids who are coming into the same grade as you, and they do bonding exercises and overnight trips with your class, and things can really help you bond that I imagine would be a much more uncomfortable experience coming in as a 6th grader to a new environment. And also, because EMS is so small, I also felt like my voice was never drowned out here. So throughout the 6th through 8th grade, I really developed a comfortability in saying my opinion. And that's helped me to be really outspoken during high school. And I think that if I left after the 5th grade, then I wouldn't have been able to do that in a larger school environment.
Yeah, and to bounce off Yale, I think that 6th through 8th grade were really important in building different leadership skills. I think, 1st through 5th or whatever, yes, there are leadership opportunities, but really it was between 6th and 8th grade, or 5th and 8th grade, that I found there's the most opportunities to sort of apply what I've learned into a smaller community and to have, different skills, whether it was a pep rally or student council. It was really helpful to have a small community to sort of experiment with different leadership skills and opportunities to sort of engage in different things. So I think I can't speak on behalf of the kids who left early, but for me, I'm really happy that I had those years.
Yeah.
I think it's almost better when there's, at least for me, in my experience, when there's a little bit of a transition to high school, because you get to think, these are what my priorities are, this is what I want to go and doing. And I thought in my 7th and 8th grade years at EMS, I became a much stronger person. And when I eventually went to Riverdale, I knew, okay, well, there are things that I'm not going to be as good at as the other kids, and I'm going to make myself as good as the other kids and try to even be better. And I think there's this whole growth mindset, knowing that you don't always have to start off at the top. You know, it's gradual. You know, and when I eventually did go to Riverdale, I found that it was never really an issue for me, that I was able to make the most out of it, and those skills I really learned at EMS in these later years.
Being in 7th and 8th grade, you have to be the role models, and if you're at a school that goes through high school, you're always still younger than somebody else. And here you have to be the role models for the younger students, and so you get the leadership opportunities, and you feel like you're able to put your ideas out there and be heard. Like, I was like, I want to write a play for the 7th and 8th grade. Can we do that? They're like, sure, let's do it. And I don't think I'd be as comfortable in a school where you're just kind of going from grade to grade to grade, and then you're going into high school, and there's not that like transition of you kind of graduated and then you're going to high school. I don't think I would have felt that as much, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to look at boarding schools and to look at other options. I feel like my options would have been much less had I transferred out in 5th grade, because you kind of just look at the grade schools that would be like grade and then high school. And I loved that I went to a school that all the incoming freshmen were new, and we all kind of got to bond, as Liel said. And I liked that experience, and having the leadership qualities of having to be a 7th and 8th grader and like be the role models was really important.
And I have spoken to kids who left in 5th and 6th grade, and they've all said they didn't know what they wanted in 5th grade. You can't pick your high school when you're 10 years old. So, like, as I left in 5th grade, boarding school wouldn't even have been an option for me, and I can't imagine my life not having gone to boarding school. So leaving in 8th grade, your options are so much bigger, and you know what you want. You're not a little kid trying to pick where you want to be as an 18.
So I'll ask the last question. I'm so excited to have you all in front of me again. I can't help looking at all of you without really remembering the leaders that you were when you were here. 4 of these students ran the whole 2012 Morrow House presidential election. We have a few student council presidents here. We have student ambassadors here, and we have students in last year's class who, during current events debates, were jumping over the tables at each other. So speaking of leadership, can you just finish up by talking about the leadership opportunities and the leadership experience that we had here, how this has translated into your experience in secondary school?
So I think Mass, I was fortunate enough to have a good amount of leadership opportunities, whether it was on a sports team, in student council, for one of our pep rallies. And this definitely translated into high school, where I found the opportunity to start a program at my high school called Breaking Borders, which was just basically a program that connected different kids from my school, Riverdale, and a local public international school to have dialogues around different social justice issues, which was something I never would have been able to facilitate, been able to sort of start without the leadership skills that I built up through, again, things like the student council, learning how to run a meeting, how to talk to administrators about things that I want to do at the school. And this program at Riverdale has been a big part of now who I am and sort of where I see myself going forward. So I think learning sort of these basic fundamental leadership skills can't sort of parallel to anything else. It is really important.
I think that EMS encourages, if we want to be a leader and gives everyone leadership opportunities, all you need to do is take it. And in high school, it really helps you stand out and establish yourself, like feeling free to talk in hours classes out for events, or running for student council, or really doing anything here, where you use sports teams, class, or orchestra. You're always pushed be the best and trying to be a leader. It youth leaders in other schools, they know and recognize that, and it really helps you stand out in high school, because when there's a larger group of people, it's harder to stand out, but EMS allows you to immediately come in and leave, have people gravitate towards you, do what you want to do, and say what you want to say.
Yeah, I was the student council president when I was here in the 8th grade, and I learned more from that experience than I've learned from probably anything else in my life. I was in Mr. Bailey's office probably like 24/7, throwing proposal after proposal after proposal, driving me crazy. And that's definitely something that stuck with me during high school. When I came to Riverdale, I immediately made meetings with teachers about starting an Amnesty International student chapter, and I got that done within like my first 3 months being at Riverdale. And it's developed really far into a group of 30 students who are really dedicated and who still throw proposal after proposal after proposal at the administration all the time. And it's really something that's also helped me engaging with adults and internships and things like that. I've done a number of internships in the past few years, and it's really just knowing how to write an email and being able to reach out to people who you think are cool and that you really admire and that you want to work with, and having the confidence to do that and the ability to communicate with them well. So that's definitely something that's helped me over the past few years.
I think part of being a leader or having leadership qualities, especially in high school, is being able, being able to go up to anyone, to any of your teachers, any of the administration, and speak your mind. And I think what I learned at EMS is I'm not, in the best possible way, I'm not scared of anyone in high school. I'm perfectly open to going to the headmaster if I need to talk to him about something, going to our head of the upper school. And like Liel, I know she is, I learned to be very comfortable with the adults in our community as well as the other students, and I feel free to speak my mind and even challenge the status quo when need be.
Well, I just want to say one more thing before they leave. They're accomplished, they're sophisticated, they're young adults. You'll always be my 8th grade pussies. Anyway, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for coming.
I want to add my thanks to all of you for being here. I feel honored and humbled, really, that you chose to spend the first day of the second day, I guess, of your Thanksgiving break, or to take a few hours off of a morning of busy classes and so forth at school to be here with all of us and to share your perspective with us. It's really, really wonderful. And I'm inspired by the way that you think and the thoughtfulness and articulate nature of your answers is really phenomenal. And I was thinking, as Mrs. Bauer was speaking about the maxim that I know EMS believes, and I think probably we all believe here, that to whom much is given, much is expected. And it's wonderful to see that come to life in all of you, to hear all that you are doing. And it brings me such joy to think of the impact of your parents and that EMS had on who you are today and all that you're doing with your lives. So again, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really wonderful to hear from you.